Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bored and Annoyed. This one you've been waiting for, folks.
Oh, yeah, just patiently waiting, I'm sure.
Yeah. This one we finally answer. Is it Laurel or is it Yanny?
Oh, we're going to answer that today?
We're going to answer that. Bored and Annoyed.
I know for a fact what it actually is. I heard.
Yeah, it's both.
No, it's Laurel. So they took it from a website saying Laurel.
Really?
Yep, so officially, us Laurel people are correct.
Okay, see, I always heard Laurel.
Yeah, me too. I don't understand the Yanny thing.
Well, and then I there was like some sort of newscast thing, and they played it, and I think they messed with the audio because I heard the YA at the beginning, so it was like Laurel.
Okay, so you came close.
I came close, but I never heard Yanny.
You know what it reminded me of is in Mallrats, there's the character trying to see the sailboat and the magic eye.
Oh, right.
Like I was trying really hard to listen and hear Yanny, and I couldn't hear it.
And all these people are like, yeah, I can hear the high-pitched tone. I'm like a dog.
Right. Yeah, so they're wrong.
Yeah.
It's official. So, yeah, give yourselves a round of applause, Laurel people.
I'm happy about that.
Right.
But let's get to the real podcasting.
Okay, perfect. I mean, we had to touch on that. It's what everybody's been talking about.
Right. We're only like a week and a half late,
Yeah,
but
perfect. Whatever.
We're going to get into the news first. There's some weird stuff that happened this weekend at the box office. Like really weird.
A Star Wars movie pretty much tanked.
Yeah, opened. So Solo, a Star Wars story, opened at 83 million for the 3-day weekend and 103 for the 4-day Memorial Day weekend.
That's horrible.
That's by far the lowest out of like the modern age.
Yeah, that's a bad sign for them, I would imagine.
Yeah, but there was also something. It's not just Solo that had a shit weekend. Deadpool dropped 66% for a 42 million 3-day weekend.
So it wasn't a good Memorial Day weekend for the movies.
Except for Book Club, I think fell by Book Club fell by like 40%, and Infinity War fell by like 40%.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I'm going to do Deadpool first because we're going to have a lot to say about Solo and maybe what's going wrong there. But
right.
Deadpool really shocked me because, like you and I had said, we had a lot of people who were saying it's great, or I really liked it, or I wasn't disappointed. But this kind of tells a different story because they always say the opening weekend reflects how good your marketing is. And
Sure. Well, the opening weekend, you can, you're basically, you're not playing off the quality of the film itself. You're going off of whatever came prior, in my opinion. So if people like Deadpool, they're going to rush to go see Deadpool too.
Exactly.
But maybe the novelty's worn off.
I think that might be part of it. I mean, with an 83 million weekend, you can't say that Solo stole a bunch of viewings.
No.
Like, it's not like it got crushed by the new competition,
right.
You know?
No.
I just find it really strange because this tells a different tale than all those people that I've been seeing.
Well, it's funny. One person asked me if I had seen it. Like, I was assuming they were going to say, hey, you want to go see it?
Right.
I said, yeah, I've seen it, and I told him, like, I wasn't impressed.
Right.
It was okay.
Yep.
So there's one who I might have stopped from going to see it,
I don't think I stopped anybody from going to see it because I've lost a lot of credibility with my whole Kingpin statement.
Well, yeah, I can imagine. I wouldn't listen to you anymore. I mean, somebody doesn't like Ernie McCracken. They've got, I've got some beef, so.
That's some good podcasting. Don't listen to 50% of this podcast.
Yeah, just listen to me, folks.
So a lot of people are sort of jumping the gun saying this is Star Wars fatigue.
Oh, for Solo.
For Solo,
now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So do you attribute it to that? What do you think this is?
I've got a couple theories. The main one is I think that a lot of people didn't like The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
They came out with a movie 6 months later, so people walk out with a bad taste in their mouth, and then they're looking at trailers for Solo like 2 or 3 months later.
Right.
And then it comes out right away.
Well, and then there's all the behind-the-scenes stuff that everybody found out about.
everybody who pays attention to movie news found out about it. But I can't imagine your average Joe, like, 45-year-old father with 3 kids or something, really.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's true.
And I would imagine that they're the ones who Star Wars kind of needs. It's not like Marvel where you have this younger, like, millennial audience who they're the ones who grew up with Marvel and it's still going.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I think that there's also an extent of feeling burned by Lucasfilm, the way that they've acted about some of the negative comments towards The Last Jedi. And, we don't get into politics here, really, but people are upset that they're bringing political, identity politics into their Star Wars movies.
Right. And sometimes I look at it and I'm like, Rose or whatever, I'm like, I don't dislike her because of her race. It's kind of how her character was written.
Yeah, it's like when they make it like blatantly obvious what they're trying to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like we've talked about the Ghostbusters movies a few times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't matter if it's all women in your movie if it's a shit movie and they're shitty characters.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
Well, and the worst thing that you could do, and they did it in that film, was sort of paint anybody who didn't like it as a sexist.
Correct. And that I know John Kasdan, who co-wrote Solo, somebody said something about this Lando being pansexual thing.
Right.
And he kind of, fired back at them saying like, hey, Star Wars is all inclusive. Like, I'm not going to say I'm sorry or whatever. And it's like, I would say that most people, they don't care if Star Wars is all inclusive. That's not the point. It's just that why are you shoehorning it in on a character that they grew up with? You're kind of messing with the secret sauce there, in my opinion.
See, for me, I don't care if he's pansexual. I just couldn't give a shit.
Neither do I, but if someone does, it doesn't mean that they're this like Nazi gay-hating asshole.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like,
there are varying degrees.
Correct.
But I do think that there were a lot of people who went out and were vitriolic about The Last Jedi. And some of them I feel like were legitimate Star Wars fans who were disappointed maybe with what happened with Luke or maybe some of the lore changes that happened in the movie.
Sure.
But I think there were a lot of people who were just pissed off because they feel like it's an SJW movie, and I think there's some of that there.
Yeah,
I don't think it ruined the movie.
No.
Like, I don't think those are the things that ruin the movie. I think
it does take you out of the movie, though. I mean, like the scene with the animal horse man things, where the upper class,
that was the scene where it was way too on the nose.
Correct. And that, I would say that whole section of the movie is what has taken the most criticism from that movie. Like, it is a pointless pointless segment of the movie.
You're right. I think it's one of the ones that you can objectively look at and be like, well, they really should have tried something different here.
Right.
But I do think what I've seen a lot of is I've seen a lot of people hate Rose. And these are the bad, these are the bad people who are like, oh, fucking chink or whatever. And I'm like, okay,
you're just being an
get
asshole.
the fuck out of here. But it's not just Rose. It's also like the treatment of Luke in the film.
Well, yeah, sure. No. And I'm saying fuck those people. That's fine. But the amount of those people isn't significant enough to have a Star Wars movie come out at 83 million.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
They're just a vocal minority.
Right. Well, and, I think there's a certain, like, people like me, I love Star Wars, because everyone agrees as far as, like, the political angle of the original Star Wars. It's like everyone hates, like, a Nazi regime type, whatever.
Absolutely.
And everyone has this journey they go on in their lives, and there's nothing political about that main piece of the movie.
Right.
And I feel like that's why it works universally for everyone.
Right.
And I feel like if they keep fucking around like this, you're going to irritate, agree with these people or not, but you're irritating a massive segment of your audience.
Right. Well, and I go back and forth on something like that because if it is the racist alt-right people, I'm like, well, fuck them. I don't care if I'm pissing them off.
Again, but they are not going to make a dent in the amount your movie makes. They're not.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're obviously pissing off someone, and whether it's because your movies are shitty or whatever, or just taking every bit of criticism and kind of throwing it back in the fans' faces, regardless of what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Well, there are a couple things I want to say about that. One, I'm not sure if it's all The Last Jedi, because I do feel like a lot of people were just not necessarily sold on a Solo movie where you replace Harrison Ford. It's funny, I just say Han Solo because he is Han Solo.
Yeah, you kind of like just completely made the point by doing that.
Yeah.
And it's true. I mean, when I told my brother, like, hey, I'm going to see this, the least excited I've ever been about a Star Wars movie, haha, he's like, Harrison Ford is Han Solo. Yeah. And he didn't go. You know what I'm saying? So, and he's seen every Star Wars movie with me since episode 1.
Right.
So
I think it's a little bit of people getting burned there. I think it's a little bit of the behind the scenes. I think it's a little bit of Han Solo is Harrison Ford.
Right.
And I think there's maybe just a little bit of fatigue with doing like the original trilogy sort of era of things where we've seen it all.
That's my main issue with the movie. Is that I'm tired of it. Do something new.
Right.
Otherwise, I mean, we're not going to get into our review yet.
Right.
But spoiler alert, I actually enjoyed the movie, but we'll leave it there for now.
Right. Yeah, I have actually felt like they've been doing too much of that ever since Rogue One. Rogue One was where I was like, okay, we've done enough of this TIE Fighter, Death Star, Rebels, Stormtroopers thing. Let's go somewhere else. This is a whole universe.
Yeah, no.
Take me somewhere else.
We've had that discussion. I've been harping on like go back like thousands of years into the past, and it's like a completely different fucking universe. There's still Jedi because, you know, whatever. But yeah, do something completely different.
Yeah. I mean, we're ready. Well, I understand their trepidation because, you know, all of a sudden Disney buys it and all of a sudden Disney changes Star Wars. You know, that's the big headline if they just started doing that right away. They went with the safe bet, and the safe bet made them a lot of money.
Correct, but they're in trouble if the numbers are to be believed and looked at in any sort of a way where they need to learn something. They need to learn that they're in trouble.
And what you're saying about sort of how the higher ups are, you know, discrediting and disproving and fighting back, it reminds me a lot of what's going on with the DC films.
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Because I mean, you see Batman v Superman comes out, and that's hugely divisive, and then Justice League comes out, and that does half as well.
So what you're saying is they need to fire some people.
They probably
They need to fire some people.
They need to take it back to the drawing board and really come up with a plan.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it, I think, last week when we were like, we are seeing the consequences of what it means to not have a plan.
Right. No, totally. And they don't have a plan. I'm sorry.
Well, and I keep thinking
they gave the sequel to like the biggest movie ever to one guy to just do with it whatever he wanted.
Right.
And this is what fucking happens.
Well, and I don't even think it was that. I think that's part of it. I don't want to disagree with that, but I think part of it is also Rogue One is a boring movie. Solo,
it did well though, didn't it?
It did well.
Yeah.
But I think you can go, I don't think it holds up to repeat viewings.
No, I would agree with that.
I walked out of it the first time saying, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, totally.
But I mean, the problem is you can't keep on putting out, yeah, it's fine, movies.
Right. It's a sad day for a Star Wars fan like me to see it get, nobody shows up. You know, I still think, you know, and I know there's Last Jedi fans out there.
Yep.
I don't want to say it's a bad movie, but I still want to say when you basically shit in Star Wars fans' cakes by making that movie, as awesome of an artistic piece as you think it is, you're still in a business. And if you don't think the fans are going to appreciate it, or if you watch that and you thought all the fans were going to appreciate it, you're fucking crazy.
Right.
And this is what happens.
Yep. Enough said.
Yeah.
Next piece of news. So you don't know who this is.
All right. I'm about to learn something.
Yeah. Morbius, the Living Vampire.
Okay.
That's a spin-off film from the Spider-Man franchise.
Well, question quick. Living vampire.
Yeah, he's not undead.
He's not undead.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah. I have a feeling that that's going to be a common question with that title.
Yeah, well, it is an interest. The living vampire. Aren't they all living?
Aren't they all alive?
Aren't they all dead? Something. But go ahead.
But yeah, so Morbius, the living vampire, they are looking for the lead actor for that film, which lets us know that they are actually moving forward with the film. And we have sort of a log line of what the movie's going to be about. So this guy has a rare blood disease.
Okay.
And he decides, like, I'm going to experiment on myself and fix my rare blood disease. Oh, well, now I'm a vampire. And he doesn't want to kill people, but he decides that he will kill criminals that he deems worthy.
All right. So he's like the Dexter of the Marvel universe?
I guess.
All right. Yeah, he has to kill, and so he's going to kill people that nobody would miss anyway?
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, they're going for a horror vibe with this, but they said the same damn thing about Venom, and that doesn't look like a horror film at all.
No, it doesn't. I saw that trailer again the other day. I just think it looks like dog shit.
Yeah. I am so tired of seeing that Jurassic World trailer.
Oh my God.
It plays before everything.
With the, you mean the one where like they start it and he's like in the little, I don't compartment with the T-Rex and has to like slip by.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he sticks his thumb up and says, yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah. Doesn't that look good?
It looks awful.
Doesn't it look good, Alex? Aren't you excited? The only thing I saw in that trailer that intrigued me was like there's a velociraptor that's like sneaking into a little girl's bedroom.
Right.
Like if he actually ate the girl, fucking gets 10 out of 10 from me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll never happen though. So.
The ball's on them, man, to do that. You know that kid's going to be fine.
Yeah, right. It's stupid.
It's a PG-13 movie.
Are they trying to, I mean... It worked in the first or the original Jurassic Park, the scene where they're like in the kitchen area and the raptors come in.
Scene.
It's a great scene.
That whole movie is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's
understatement of the century.
I don't get me started. I don't think it's like this.
I love the movie.
Okay.
But you don't think it's great?
I think it's really good.
Okay.
There's nothing in it that like I shouldn't say this, but there's nothing in it watching it now that blows me away. At the time, sure. Special effects and shit.
Right.
But
I love the music. I love all the characters.
Yeah, that's another John Williams, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah. Man's the master.
And Sam Neill's pretty great.
Sam Neill's great.
It's a good movie.
Jeff Goldblum.
It's a really good movie.
It's a really good.
It's a really good movie.
But yeah, Morbius, the living vampire. I have no excitement for this movie. I'm just so tired of Sony trying to like play their like this is going to turn out exactly like the Dark Universe.
Everything else they've tried to do. Yeah, you think so?
I think so.
Okay. I mean, unless Venom's really good.
Maybe.
I mean, could be good.
Could be good.
Could be good.
I mean, I will totally eat crow if this ends up being good. I just don't have much faith.
If Venom's good, it'll be fucking exciting.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Well, and then they could have their own little sort of, Spider-Man Marvel universe that they could do like a team up. Like the Sinister Six could be like Morbius and Venom and then all the characters from the Spider-Man films. And that's how you could bring it all together.
They just need to make a few good movies then, though.
Yes.
Do you trust Sony to do that?
I'm not so sure.
No, I don't either.
But I also think that Jumanji 2 was actually a halfway decent film.
See, I didn't see Jumanji 2.
It's fine for what it
is.
It
was funny.
Yeah.
I got to see that one.
Paramount has dropped the sequel to Transformers The Last Night from their 2019 schedule. How do you, as the resident Transformers fan, feel about that?
Are you really going to call me out as that on the podcast? It's true.
Well, you're the only one of the two of us.
Was Michael Bay going to direct it, or was it going to somebody else?
That was his last one.
The last one
was his last one.
Okay. I mean, as long as the Transformers are around in some form, I'm fine. Yeah. Peter Cullen better be around. Right?
I hope so.
Yeah. I mean...
But he's not the only voice actor who's done Optimus Prime over the years.
Yeah, but he's the only one that matters.
He is the best.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I just hope that they reboot. Or maybe just give me a good 5 years without the Transformers in my life.
No, just give me a Transformers every 6 months.
Yeah, they're doing that with Star Wars. How do you like that?
Yeah, that's true. Hey, I enjoyed it. So
That's true. You did.
I did.
Well, speaking of Star Wars, there's one more piece of news.
Okay.
It's Star Wars related, though.
Oh.
They are working on Boba Fett, Yoda, and Obi-Wan films.
Hold on. Did they officially announce Yoda and Obi-Wan?
These are rumored right now.
Okay, so Boba Fett's official, right?
I believe Boba
Fett's official.
Yes.
The other two are rumored.
Yes.
So what were we just talking about? I mean, this is fucking ridiculous. Like, you're doing nothing new and interesting.
Right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. I don't know where you go from here. It's just the same old shit. Boba Fett, to me, is not even an interesting character. He's the only one that you could maybe do something good with.
Well, see, that's where I'm at with Boba Fett. I'm almost okay with Boba Fett just because there's all these fucking Boba Fett fans out there. And it's like, well, maybe they'll actually have a reason to be a Boba Fett fan, because right now I just find them fucking irritating.
Right, like he's got cool armor.
That's it.
And that's it.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Yoda... The only time that I would like a Yoda film is if it's before he even become like young Yoda.
Yoda being like trained when he's in his 20s or something.
Yes. That's a movie I would watch.
That would be intriguing. I think the two characters you could really get me excited about would be if you did like a young Yoda, like, I mean, this could be far enough back where it could be like a different world like we were talking about.
Right.
Because he's, 800 years old or
something
whatever?
Like that, yeah.
Sure. So you could do that, or you do a Palpatine movie when he's young. That would interest me. Nothing else interests me.
I would like that, because then you could do Darth Plagueis, and that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, kind of neat.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you're building on the lore. And then we could actually see if that shit that he told Anakin about stopping people from dying, we could actually see if that's bullshit or if that was a true story.
It's a half-truth.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, Lucas doesn't care to explain anything in his prequel movies, but...
I don't know. There is a lot of exposition in those films.
Yeah, except for like, what is the prophecy exactly? Did the Emperor turn wrinkly because it was inside of him all along, or did the lightning cause the wrinkles? We don't really come out of that scene understanding what the fuck happened there.
I'm pretty sure it was the lightning that turned him like that. I'm pretty sure.
So Luke in Return of the Jedi, why doesn't he turn wrinkly?
That's a great question. Maybe it's just... Maybe the Emperor has bad skin.
Maybe that's something you should put in your movie. Maybe you should explain that in your movie.
Well, maybe it's a matter of he's the real chosen one. He's immune to the wrinkly effects of the lightning.
Yeah, lightning has wrinkling effects apparently. But yeah, anyway.
But now we're going into Star Wars week.
Okay, let's do it. Now you watch the prequels, so I think we should just let you.
We're gonna
go on the prequels for a minute.
All right.
We'll start with a bad taste in people's mouths.
So I haven't watched these films since they were in theaters. I'm sorry. I know that there are prequel fans. I'm sorry. They're all bad. They're varying degrees of bad, but they're all bad.
I was a prequel fan up until 10 years ago or so. I walked out of every prequel movie in the theater thinking they were fucking awesome at the time I saw them. So let's get that out of the way now.
I remember walking out of the third and being like, well, it's better than the last one. So I by the time episode 3 had come around, I had sort of figured out they were kind of shit. I don't remember how old I was at the time. I mean, it's really sad. I probably was something like 20 or 21 at the time. It took me that long to figure out that they're really poorly made stories.
No, it came out in 2005, episode 3 did. It came out in May of 2005.
So I was 20 then at the time. But here's the thing.
Everybody back to the prequels.
Everybody wants to act like Kathleen Kennedy and her SJW politics ruined Star Wars. George Lucas ruined Star Wars.
And tell us why.
Okay, so...
hold on. How are we going to do this? Are you just going to start with one and just go through
I'm just going to start from one.
Okay.
All right.
So a long time ago, or a short time ago in Alex's house...
I finished the film and was blown away at the fact that there is no main character and there are no character arcs. No one learns anything. Jackson's thinking right now. He's like,
I'm trying to think of a character that does.
Right. See, it's not a good sign that you have to think, and you're a Star Wars fan.
No, you're completely correct. Like, the prequels feel like a Wikipedia page where they're just kind of telling you like important events that happened.
Right.
Like only reading that, it could kind of sound interesting.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
I find it so annoying that a lot of the movie, you could tell he just was in love with these green screens because they just move from giant big room to giant big room. And they're all just, they're just empty rooms.
Oh yeah, everything's an empty room. And
it's just giant. And I know that he's going for this sort of like, this was the height of the Republic. Look at like all this decadence and stuff, and it's all gonna fall from grace and all that stuff. But I'm sitting here, I'm like, but it doesn't feel real because nobody lives a life like that. And there's no character where like, okay, so Padme reveals that she's the actual queen.
Queen Amidala.
Yes. In probably like the most anticlimactic way, she's just like, "Oh, hey, I'm the queen. I just hey."
And everyone looks shocked.
Yeah, and everybody's like, "Ooh."
Yeah, all boss nass.
And she does it in front of these Gungans, and I'm like, "George, what the fuck are you doing?" They go and they siege their palace to get it back. That would have been the best time to do it. They capture the queen, and you as the audience are like, oh, fuck, they've got the queen.
All right, so hold on. Are we not going to do any plot shit here because we just don't have the time?
If you haven't seen episode 1, that's on you.
Yeah, okay. That's how we're going to run this.
I feel like Star Wars is such a phenomenon that I don't... Why?
Everyone knows when they hear you talk about like the queen revealing herself, all that shit. Right. They all know.
I would hope you would know, and if you don't, what are you doing listening to this podcast? Like, this probably just isn't for you.
Right. I would agree.
Yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn, the best character in the movie.
Oh, you'll say that? You think that's true?
Easily.
Okay.
Easily. I mean, sure, Ewan McGregor is a good Obi-Wan, but God, that rat tail is awful.
And in the first one, he doesn't do anything.
Right. Darth Maul, I cannot believe how just empty of a villain he is.
Yeah, and I hate when people talk about how great Darth Maul is.
At last we will have our revenge.
Yeah, that's his scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like, people do like Darth Maul just from the look of him.
Yeah.
What wasted potential.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he was a bad character.
Right.
I had forgotten how bad Jar Jar Binks is. Like, he's maybe one of the worst fictional characters like I've ever seen on film.
He's the most hated, I think.
He offers nothing to the plot. I can't
He's
believe
the reason they get the Gungans on board.
I mean, yeah, that's true. He does. But I mean, he really is like offensively cast as like a slave, like a black slave from back in the day. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, you could see it that way.
I
don't think George Lucas was necessarily thinking that.
I think he was thinking, isn't it interesting how we have all these past dialects that we no longer use? Like, oh, I never had any Asian people in Star Wars. All right, I'll make these Trade Federation people Asian.
They're totally Asian.
And it's just awful. Like, it's so... I am shocked that George went from having a bad actor as Anakin to then having another bad actor as Anakin.
Oh, so are we moving into 2 here now?
Okay, I should say something nice about the film. Duel of Fates being the song that they play when the Jedis are fighting.
It's the best Star Wars song since the original trilogy.
Absolutely.
Still. Yeah, it's a great song.
The problem is that movie keeps on playing like this exciting music, like you're supposed to be invested in what's going on. Like, I'm just like, man, John Williams, you are composing your fucking soul out here. And this movie has no soul.
That's kind of true.
It's a weird dichotomy. But yeah, going to episode 2, I hate how it starts. Like, Anakin is just a whiny little bitch. But like, they try and endear him to you early on with his conversation with Obi-Wan. Like, oh, I saved you during this thing.
No, the elevator scene.
Yeah. I don't buy any of it.
No, they don't have any chemistry as friends.
And all he does from that point on is complain about Obi-Wan. But we've never really seen Obi-Wan do anything bad, which just makes Anakin incredibly unlikable.
Now, isn't there a scene where Obi-Wan kind of shuts him down, or he, like in that movie at the beginning?
Right.
Yeah.
He does.
So that's the one moment.
That's the one moment. But it's like, bro, you're a Padawan. Like, know your fucking place. Like, it's just so arrogant. Like, and I know that we're all kind of arrogant at a certain age. Like, we think we know better.
Sure.
But I mean,
that's what he was going for, is like an arrogant, teenage kid who's,
I totally get it.
Right.
I think it's a really stupid thing to do for what's supposed to be your main character in your film, to make it so unlikable. He can't flirt with women. I mean, it's really tough, because this is, if anybody has not seen Red Letter Media's Plinkett reviews of episode 1, 2, and 3, he says almost everything that could be said about these films.
It's my favorite thing on the internet.
Yeah, they're amazing, and so you almost feel like there's no point in talking about him, because he nails everything.
Right. There's no way you can criticize the prequels without feeling like you're taking from those videos.
Right.
It's just not possible.
Right. So one of my favorite things is I love the dialogue in the film.
Shakespearean dialogue.
I hate sand. It's coarse and rough, and it gets everywhere. Not like,
yeah, that is terrible.
Yeah. And then he touches her like on her shoulder, and like, I'm like, dude, you're a rapey kind of dude. I mean, he like does not understand no.
Now, foreshadowing here, when I discuss Empire Strikes Back, we're going to get into the other kind of rapey, the non-creepy kind.
Wait, there's a non-creepy kind of rapey?
Well, there's something in Empire Strikes Back where I question whether or not they would get away with it now.
Oh, okay.
That's what I should say.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, it's a great scene, by the way.
I'm looking forward to the non-creepy rapey.
Right. Well, neither are actually rapey. They're just,
I mean, this guy
like,
just...
There's suave Han Solo,
right.
And then there's, like, fucking...
Anakin?
Socially awkward Anakin.
Who just can't read social cues at all.
Well, and who's not supposed to be socially awkward. Like, you're supposed to be watching this like, oh, I totally am into this. Like
when she shuts him up and he's like, excuse me, milady.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck's your problem, man? Like, this is her home planet. She knows, like, you're just a bodyguard.
Well, they're showing that he's... he goes off the handle, yeah.
But one of my favorite things is when they get captured and she's on the top of that pole, and then that lion creature comes and scratches her back.
Best thing in the movie.
She ends up with what's that? Like a tube top, basically.
A perfectly revealed midriff.
And I rewound that scene because I was like, how the fuck did that happen? And then I just realized, apparently getting scratched on the back also just rips off the clothes, but just on your abdomen.
Right. Well, this was going to be the one where Natalie Portman showed some skin because she was too young in the first one.
Right.
And she's pregnant in the third one. So this is your only opportunity.
Yeah. Only opportunity to sexualize your main female character.
Bravo, George. You put something worth watching into the movie.
Yeah. 2 is... And it's weird because I actually hated 2 more than 1 at one point, but watching it this time, I'm like, 2 is actually a slight improvement over 2 because there's... over
1.
Yeah. And it's because there's an actual character arc. There's a little bit of a theme there about sort of, corruption and bureaucracy and stuff. Like, there's some stuff there. And politics. I mean, George doesn't know how to play any of it subtly or interestingly. But there's something there.
Sure.
Then you go to 3, and I'd say the first thing that I was astounded by in 3 was that Anakin actually ended up being a semi-decent actor. I was shocked that he didn't annoy the fuck out of me at that point. Like, I could not believe how much... He's still not good, but how much he improved from film 2 to film 3 is commendable, and I do want to, mention
I think he does okay in 3 with what he's given.
he's given some horrible shit.
I think it's a little easier to play the character in 3 though, because he's just kind of intense for a lot of it.
Right.
And that's George Lucas's thing.
Well,
like it makes sense to say faster and more intense after every take when the character is literally like going apeshit.
Right. Well, and the problem is that that's actually the stuff that didn't work for me. All the stuff on the lava planet, it would have been better if he had been either more or go for a colder, sort of thing.
Well, even this non-lava planet stuff, he's frustrated.
Yeah.
And I think that he does that okay.
He does that okay. I'd say the scene that really got me was when he goes and he hugs Padme, and like after, because he hasn't seen her in a while.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, this is pretty good. Like he's actually kind of nailing this sort of relationship. Of course, then they have that terrible scene on the balcony. Are you saying love has blinded you? No, I love you more. I don't even remember the lines, but it's some of the worst writing ever.
When I first saw that, I liked that scene. Mm-hmm. I like the idea of that scene.
Right.
It's just normal people don't talk that way.
Yeah, it's so foreign, and I know what he's going for. He's going for like a classical romance sort of feel. Almost Shakespearean in a way.
Right, that is. He thinks that that's what he's writing in these movies.
But his dialogue is unbelievably bad. The line, from my perspective, the Jedi are evil. You never have your character say, from my perspective.
Or from my point of view, does he say?
Yeah, that's what
Yeah, but the point is, like, you can get that across without, like, hammering your audience over the head with it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, it's really tough because I just hate the film. Like, all of them are just bad. And the third one, I'm like, man, Obi-Wan is a shit friend because I have the high ground. Then the kid's fucking dumb because he could have just like ran to the side and sort of met him diagonally, but he's fucking. I mean, it speaks to the arrogance of the character. He tries to force jump over him, but he cuts off his friend's legs and then he yells at him, "You were supposed to be the chosen one," blah blah blah. Then he just sits there and watches his friend burn to death.
He could have just ended it.
He could have just killed him.
I think the idea there. Excuse me for defending this. I don't think that he could do it. I think that's what you're supposed to believe. Like,
right.
He couldn't.
But in that moment, it's the more merciful thing to do.
It's the Dr. Kevorkian that needs to come out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like nobody gets out of these prequels looking good. Like no actor. Ewan McGregor is the closest, but he's so wasted and there's nothing for his character in these. Like he doesn't go through an arc throughout the whole series. He just goes from Padawan to Master, but that's just a title change. He doesn't learn anything in any film. He doesn't grow in any way.
It's true.
So, I mean, they're horribly, horribly constructed from a story standpoint. The special effects are too much. The cinematography is... that fight scene...
You want to call anything in those cinematography?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, is there a moment of cinematography? Or is there just...
shot, reverse shot, establishing shot.
Special effects guys making cool looking shit on computer screens. That's what it is. That's the quote unquote cinematography.
Yeah, they're just awful movies.
I'm gonna give props to Ian McDiarmid.
Oh, the Emperor.
Yes. Now they never should have had him. Right. They never should have had him in a lightsaber fight.
Yeah,
but
that was
his
silly.
character is fun.
Yeah. I mean, there are certain things that sort of almost break the lore. Well, I don't know. They complicate the lore. They take away from some of the things in the original trilogy, like Count Dooku doing the lightning. We thought that was like the Emperor thing.
It should be.
It should have been.
Yeah.
We see Yoda jumping around like a fucking samurai, and I'm like, well, I mean, there's a way that you could explain this and still have him be weak and feeble, but you sort of lose the idea of like being a Jedi is more about mind over body. So... But there is a way you could say that the reason he's able to jump that way and able to move those ways is because of the Force. It's not a physical thing. He's literally using the Force to propel his body in literally every motion that he has, which actually makes him look stronger and appear stronger and faster because it's not his body that's moving. It's the Force around him that's moving. But, I mean, they never decide to go into anything
George
like
just
that.
wanted to make a cool-looking scene where Yoda fights with a lightsaber.
Right.
That's it.
And how my brain works when I'm watching these, I was like, the way that you fix these is Anakin leaves the Jedi Order at the end of the second one. So, because from his perspective, he lost his mom, he lost his hand, his teacher never listens to him, and the Jedi Council doesn't respect him. He just leaves. And so that's why the third one doesn't work, is the turn to the dark side doesn't feel natural, because it's just so all of a sudden, and because they've made him so unlikable. They didn't do anything to make the Jedi really feel like bad, or try and sort of muddy the waters a little bit so that you could understand Anakin's perspective.
Right.
And so what you do is you actually make him be like, look, if I wasn't off on this mission, I would have been there to save my mom. It's because you guys don't trust me. It's because you guys won't listen to me.
That's true. That would have been better.
That would have been a lot better.
Yeah, I would agree.
And then the second one, he's a reluctant ally to the Jedis, and he's got a contentious relationship.
The third one.
I'm sorry.
No, it feels like it should be the second one, because the first one is like nothing happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true, because it's almost like episode 1 just doesn't matter at all. Like, it establishes the characters, but it's like you could have done all that in the first 30 minutes of like episode 2.
Agreed.
With better writing. It's one of those things where you see it and you're like, there's no way that if you're a new Star Wars fan, like if you're over the age of 15, 16, okay, maybe you're at 15, 16, you'd still enjoy the prequels, but if you're 18 or older, there's no way that if you started with the prequels, you'd end up getting to where we are now.
So here's what's interesting about me with the prequels. Like, they're bad movies.
Yeah.
I mean, objectively, they're terrible.
Yeah.
There's cool ideas in them, I think.
Yeah.
Now, that makes them still have value for me. Once in a while, I'll pop in 3 or I'll pop one in. I mean, I'm a huge Star Wars fan, so obviously I just have to revisit them just because, I don't know, I just have temptations to.
Right.
But like, George Lucas is kind of an idea guy.
Yeah.
And if he would have taken this idea, like, mapped it out.
Yep.
Like, same fucking idea. You have the political thing with the Emperor rising to power, all that shit.
Yeah.
And brought it to Lawrence Kasdan or somebody else who was a good screenwriter.
Yeah.
And said, here, make this, write this for me.
Yeah.
I'm too busy. I'm doing something else, whatever.
Right.
I think they could have been really good.
They could have been.
You know what I mean?
There's a lot. There are good ingredients there. I still think you need to recast Anakin because he's just so bad.
Now, how bad is Hayden Christensen, and how bad does George Lucas make Hayden Christensen?
See, that's a great question, because I haven't seen any. Actually, no, I saw Jumper.
Oh, terrible! That's almost worse. Yeah, it's a terrible movie.
I walked out of it and thought it was fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
hated it.
I hated it.
Yeah.
There's one called Shattered Glass where he plays like a writer or a journalist for the New Yorker. And he basically gets caught making up stories. Mm-hmm. And it's good.
Okay.
And he's pretty good in it.
Yeah.
He's weird and awkward because he's kind of just playing an awkward guy.
Right.
But I think he does a good job. So, yeah, I'd recommend that one.
But
this killed his career.
It did.
Yeah.
I feel so bad for him because it's like, I don't know how much of this is George, because a lot of it is the dialogue. I'd say the other thing that really sucks about these films is that George thinks that he can just throw in some new tech and a new creature and have a new action sequence every 15 minutes, and that makes a decent movie. But I don't care about any of the characters, so just watching them in such rapid succession from each other, because I was like, I'm going to do like the Jerry Seinfeld thing, like a Band-Aid, right off. I'm just going to do them all in one day.
Just finish them all.
Yeah.
You watched them all like in a day or two?
Yes. I watched them all in 2 days.
Oh, my God.
And I'm like, all of these action sequences are void of any heart or emotion or telling you something about the characters or the world.
Right.
It's just kind of explosion here, move over here. Oh, look at that creature. Isn't that cool? Oh, look at Obi-Wan got on a big iguana. Like, fuck this. Fuck all these movies. They're so fucking bad. Like, I would make an argument that these are probably worse than the Transformers movies. Now, they have more ideas.
Yeah, there's more. Somebody cared more.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
But I mean, at the end of the day, the action is better in the Transformers movies, and it looks cooler. And I hate those movies.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. The villain's better in the Transformers movies. I mean, outside of Palpatine, but Megatron's cooler than Darth Maul.
Okay, but That's a debate for another time. We're already running long. We haven't even gotten into your original trilogy.
We might have to split this and put Solo off on its own. You know what I'm saying? Because this is long.
Right. But yeah, what did you think of the original trilogy?
What did I think of it? I was thinking to myself, well, I started the first one, and it was funny because my first thought as I'm watching it, the first opening famous shot with the Star Destroyer chasing the rebel ship goes by, and I said, God damn, I feel bad for Alex. Because I'm watching it and I'm thinking, like, it is no shock how Star Wars became huge, because it is just such a the original.
Right.
It's such a perfectly simple adventure movie.
Yeah.
On its own, if nothing ever else came out, it's just a fucking classic movie. Everything's so simple. Like in the first one, you've got like a 3-act structure. Yep. There's Luke on Tatooine. There's the Death Star, and then the third act I would say is Yavin and the fight with the spaceship fight.
Right.
In the first one, like, it's all just one group of characters. It's following one group of characters. You have a couple like Grand Moff Tarkin, Darth Vader scenes, like the inner workings of the Death Star or whatever. Yes. But outside of that, like, who couldn't enjoy this movie? It's a perfectly constructed movie. A few things stand out. Just the introduction of your villain in that. Darth Vader coming onto the ship right at the beginning. You're like, oh, this is a badass dude. Yep. Like, that is a completely marketable character.
Yep.
Then there was, I was thinking about other things too. Like on Tatooine, Luke's theme, John Williams. Like, I'm just watching it and I'm like, how the fuck did George Lucas do this? Like, it is sublime how good it is. Like, Luke looking up into the sunset. Yes. Like, he's the protagonist who's stuck in this shitty life that he doesn't like, and you don't even have to like really say that. You just have a shot of him looking into the sunset.
That's amazing. How that he knew that you could just have a small moment like that so early in his career, and he could unlearn it 30 years later.
It's unbelievable. It really is. And I mean, they do, have some exposition where like Luke is talking to his uncle and aunt who he lives with, obviously. And he kind of walks away, and the aunt says to the uncle, like, he's just not his father, Owen. Or he's not a farmer, Owen. He's got too much of his father in him.
Yeah.
Like that kind of shit, like that really like simple shit that is just completely missing.
Yep.
Completely missing down the road from these movies.
Yeah.
And I would say even from the new ones.
I would agree.
There's nothing like that. Another Luke moment that like kind of plays into that, oh, he's just a kid and he wants to get out there, is there's a scene, and most people probably don't even notice this kind of shit, but there's a scene where they just bought the droids and C-3PO's taking an oil bath. He's like, oh, this oil bath's going to feel so good. And they've got Luke sitting there with a model ship, just kind of like playing with it.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. In the moment, he's dreaming of being somewhere else because he doesn't know what these droids are going to bring him.
And that's how you tell stories in a visual format.
Yep.
You don't need to have lines of dialogue, wooden lines of dialogue every 3 seconds to explain things.
Right.
And then, Han Solo could have been a really lame character, I would say.
Really?
Yeah, he could have been. He's just kind of a guy. You know what I'm saying?
True. That's true.
But the arc of his character in the first movie is fucking great.
Yeah.
You can just like feel it. You know what I'm saying? So you meet him and he's got badass. He shoots Greedo, whatever. Oh, this guy's kind of a hard ass.
Right.
And then, the way he's played by Harrison Ford in that, where, there's a scene where basically Luke is training with that orb thing that's shooting the lasers at him. And Han has a bit of an argument with Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can just feel that deep down inside, he's full of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not really this cocky, arrogant fucker.
You can tell that he's kind of broken and that he had a little bit of a rough past, but you don't know what it is.
Right. So, yeah. So that movie, it's brilliant. And it's funny, too. to give credit to the Plinkett reviews too, they bring up how the Obi-Wan Vader lightsaber fight in that one is so much better than the one in episode 3,
right?
Even though it's just like two old guys hitting each other with sticks. Like, it looks just ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there's a banter going on, and they're interesting characters.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? There's the archetypical wizard character who, like, is the old man wizard who Luke has to go find and whatever, like, takes him on his adventure. And then there's this mysterious badass dude who at this point we think like killed Luke's father.
Yes.
And the badass dude kills his ass.
Yeah.
And it's interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I think at that point in film you didn't know that was sort of the thing that you did is kill the mentor.
Right.
So, yeah, it was good.
Yeah. So that's the first one. Honestly, I looking at it with a more critical eye than I have in a long time, I could see the argument that it's the best one. If somebody said that they think that's the best one, I'd still go, oh, you're fucking crazy. Empire's the best. But in the back of my head, I'd go, but for what it's trying to do,
I think structurally it might be the best.
It's the simplest.
It's the simplest, and it nails the 3-act structure perfectly.
It does.
And the characters all have like complete arcs, and it's amazing because it's not just one character. It's like 3 characters have arcs in the movie.
Yeah, Carrie Fisher's great in it.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole cast is great in it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It is amazing that it got made, and that, it's amazing how you can watch it now, and it's dated. I actually watched there's a silver screen edition that you can get online.
Yes.
Yep. And I watched it, and it's the one where, like, even the wheels are fudged out with Vaseline on the speeder. Like, that's how they hid the fact that it was on wheels. Yeah. And it still works. Like, there was nothing that needed to be done to it to fix it. It just works.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, the effects, sure, the ships look like they're moving slow and shit. Works fine.
I don't think that criticizing a film's special effects from 30, 40 years ago is a legitimate criticism anyways.
I would agree with that. But when they still, like, it didn't take me out of the movie. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the way they did, like, Death Star explosions was like model kits and real explosions and shit. And it's more convincing to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, that's enough about A New Hope. Great movie.
Yes.
Great movie. Totally understand how Star Wars became huge watching it. That was my thought. And my other thought, like I said, was, oh my God, poor Alex. Because this is so good.
I'm glad I was in your thoughts.
Now, Empire, everybody who listens to this podcast already knows this is my favorite movie of all time. So yeah, I'm always down to watch this. The interesting thing about Empire is that at the beginning of the movie, some time has passed between A New Hope and The Empire Strikes Back. And we don't need to see any of that to just believe it. The characters are just acting in a way where it's like, oh, some shit has gone down.
Yes.
Han and Leia obviously have, come a little closer to forming a relationship.
Yep.
They've been through some shit. There's a couple things they bring up, like Han running into a bounty hunter somewhere scared him, so he wants to leave. But yeah, I thought that was interesting how the way they're written, it's just like, oh, we're back in this now. Yeah. And I feel like I'm at home with these characters again.
Yeah.
That part of the movie, by the way, in Hoth, the first act, has the funniest little bit in Star Wars history, in my opinion.
What's that?
It's so Han goes and gets Luke. He saves him. He's caught outside or whatever. And he brings him back. And there's the whole bit where Han is trying, like, really flirting with Leia, like really laying it on thick. And Leia's just like, no, whatever, and kisses Luke or whatever.
Yeah.
And, there's great lines in there, like Han looking up at Chewie, laugh it up, fuzzball. It's just the whole fucking thing it's amazing.
Yeah.
There's nothing like that in Star Wars anymore.
There are some great lines in that.
Forced. You know what I mean? Like, you can be funny in like a witty way with real actors who do real things.
Right.
It doesn't need to be like complete like forced nonsense, like starting your movie with a "your mama" joke, like the latest one did.
Yeah. Oh, I'm right. What's his name? The alt-right guy and
the
Holdo?
Nazi guy.
No, that's the other chick.
General Hux.
Yeah, I'm waiting for
Hux. Yeah, so he's just there's you compare him to like in Empire, another thing you can talk about is how awesome Darth Vader is in Empire.
Right.
Because this is the one where he's just choking motherfuckers when they fail.
Yeah.
It's just every time it's great. None of these admirals and shit are fucking cartoon character like in their way they act.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They're just like little British dudes who are just there to do a job.
Yeah. They're all prissy, and he's just like this fucking American who's like, I'll choke you, bitch.
Dude, the greatness with which like these like Admiral Piet is the one who ends up being like the admiral in the movie.
Okay.
He ends up like, making it.
Yeah.
But watching those movies and just thinking about like, oh, this is how you make it up to the next rung of the ladder. What a horrible promotion for these people is what I was thinking.
Right.
Speaking of Piet though, there's a nice bit in there that's like a perfect Star Wars moment that you wouldn't see now. And it's at the end of the movie.
Right.
The Empire was told to disable the light speed, the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon.
Okay.
So basically, Luke makes it onto the Falcon. Vader looks over and says, "Did you disable the hyperdrive on the Millennium Falcon?" Whatever. And they're like, "Yep, yes, we did, sir." Like, oh God, we did it. We're good.
We're good. We did the one thing he asked us to do.
He's killed everyone in the fucking movie so far. Like, who's fucked up?
Right.
If you fuck up, you die.
Yep.
Now this is after he's had the best lightsaber fight scene in Star Wars, in my opinion. Darth Vader versus Luke, when Darth Vader can still whoop his ass.
Yeah.
One hand fight. That's such a good touch to me.
Yeah.
Is that he's fighting him with one fucking hand.
Yep.
You know what I mean? When he comes back in the next one, he's not using one hand anymore.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's
I do
just
like
one of those,
that progression.
Oh, it's amazing. It's just a little touch. Most people probably don't notice it. But
I do really love the fight scene in the third one.
Oh, they're both. Yeah, we'll get to that because it's great too.
Yeah.
but no. So basically, he's confronted his son.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't seen the conflict in Vader.
Right.
You know what I mean? He's going to go get his son. He's going to take him to the Emperor. He doesn't seem to give a shit about anything but bringing him to his son. So at the end of the movie, right before the light speed's supposed to be broken, whatever, there's that little scene where Vader kind of like communicates with him.
Yeah.
And he's father, son, come to me, whatever. Light speed kicks in and it goes, and Vader kind of just like Piet looks like he's going to shit his pants because Vader's going to turn around and kill him.
Right.
Vader just kind of looks down, looks out the window, just walks past him, just doesn't kill him. And it's like, what an interesting, right?
Character development.
What an interesting
for your
moment.
Villain.
Yes, you've shown. Now I wonder why he didn't kill him.
Right.
Like,
I think the thing that's great about Empire is it takes something that could have gone wrong. You could have actually kept Darth Vader the same, and he would have been I don't think he would be the same villain that he is now without the Empire.
Oh no, completely.
I think Empire solidifies him as a great villain.
Yes, Empire is Darth Vader's a badass.
Yeah.
But we'll just leave this little nugget at the end.
But he becomes more complex.
Right, totally.
And infinitely more interesting.
The fact that he is Luke Skywalker's father, adds a whole new complexity to his character. Now, in the movie, does he do many things, like, besides just be a hard ass who's trying to fucking find his son? No, not particularly. He kills a bunch of people. He's just a badass in that movie.
But it completely shifts the paradigm in which you view the character, which is amazing.
Right. Well, because in the first one, he's kind of just like a little bitch to Tarkin, really.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then in the second one, like, he's on this is personal now.
Yeah.
He's figured out who this is that he's trying to find, who blew up the Death Star.
Yeah.
He knows it's his kid, and he didn't know that his kid was alive.
Yeah.
You know, there's a great scene in there too where he talks to the Emperor on the what would you even call it? The viewfinder thing.
Oh, yeah.
So in that scene, I mean, he's still like, he's shocked that his son is out there.
Yeah.
You know, and don't pretend the prequels don't exist. You know, just watch them like it's just the trilogy. Yeah, this isn't just about helping the Empire for him.
Yeah.
It's about finding his kid. And that moment at the end really stuck out to me this time watching it, where he lets Piet live.
Well, they do. Isn't it the Empire where they have the shot where you see the helmet come down and you see his scarred head?
Oh, it's so fucking awesome.
And you have that room, like that little orb that he sits in. You know,
yes.
And I don't know what that is. I'm sure that they've explained it in other things and interviews and stuff. But for me, I was just like, oh, he's like an evil monk. Like, this is where he goes and he sits and he meditates.
Yeah,
and
I mean, he doesn't need his helmet on in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
see, I didn't even know that.
The thing's closed. When it's closed on him, the helmet's off. He can breathe.
Yeah.
When it opens, they show the helmet coming down over him. He turns around. God damn, there's so much good imagery in it, too.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about that, too. Empire, out of the three, the sets of the Star Destroyers and shit, just how everything looks is so crisp and fantastic.
You're making me want to watch it.
It's
like, if
so
I'm honest.
Good. Like, they've got the orchestra pit with the little dudes working on the computers, and he's above them walking. You know, it's fucking immaculate. Yeah. And then in the third one, I suppose we should talk about Dagobah for a second.
Yeah.
There's a scene in there that like encompasses Star Wars. I call it the "That is why you fail" scene.
Okay.
So that's when Luke, he tells Luke, you know, I can't lift the X-wing. It's too fucking heavy.
Or are you talking about the Yoda scene? Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So he lifts the fucker, can't lift it, whatever. He whines and bitches about it because, you know, Luke is still kind of, he's getting there as to being, you know, better. But at this point, he's still childlike,
right,
in the way he throws tantrums and shit. He tries to lift it, can't lift it, walks away, has a fight with Yoda. Yoda lifts it. You know, for this is the do or do not. There is no try scene too. But yeah, he lifts it, gets it out, and basically, there's a scene where Luke says, you know, I can't believe it, and Yoda looks at him and says, that is why you fail. And it's just fucking, you know, sorry to nerd out there for a second, but that's Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, the introduction of Yoda is great. The introduction of that whole scene is great.
All the Dagobah stuff.
Yeah.
You know, because this is where Star Wars got a little more complex. You had Act 2 where there's Dagobah.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole asteroid field, Cloud City going on, and Lando's fucking great.
Which are some of my favorites. I mean, that whole movie is just amazing, but I love Cloud City.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah. And then Act 3 would be Luke comes to Cloud City.
Yeah. I love that. I love the whole line from Han, I know.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's all so good. It's all so good.
Okay, you want to talk about a set design, just an amazing set.
Yep.
That fucking the freezing chamber.
Yep.
It's amazing.
Yep.
Like the way it looks, like it's very industrial, dark. Like that would never happen in the prequels.
Yep. I love the bowels of Cloud City where Luke fights Darth Vader.
It's ridiculous.
It's all so good.
It is. It's the set design is insane.
Yeah.
Because he fights him there. He starts in the freezing chamber area.
Yep.
And there's a shot where when Vader first enters, you just kind of see a silhouette.
Yeah.
And then the lightsaber turns on and it slowly just, you know.
Yep. That's cinematography.
And it makes it hard to watch the prequels or even the new movies, in my opinion, because it's so well done that it's disgusting how good it is. It's disgusting to watch because it's like these are things that seem like common sense if you were making a movie like this.
Right. But you have to think like somebody actually had to make this decision. And every shot that you see in a movie, there are thousands of possibilities of the ways they could have done it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just that little thing we talked about, the idea that Darth Vader, how about this? Let's have him just fight Luke with one hand.
Yep. Yep.
Like just toy with him.
Yeah, that's yeah.
And Luke is just looking like he's struggling his ass off.
Yep.
It's
a great scene.
It is.
It's a great movie.
All right, now we go to Return of the Jedi, which is the ugly, the
redheaded
stepchild of the ugly duckling of the Star Wars universe, I would say, or the original trilogy.
Absolutely.
It looks like a fucking Citizen Kane.
Compared to the prequels, hell yeah.
I think the problem with Return of the Jedi for me is it starts Act 1, Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
From there, they go like straight to Endor.
Yeah.
And it feels like it's stretched really thin from that point on, where it's like this movie could have been an hour long.
Yeah, it didn't. I think that's a great point. It doesn't have enough story
to
support itself, especially because we spend way too much time with the Ewoks, in my opinion.
Yes, we do. Now, there are some great scenes. So Return of the Jedi survives for me because of great scenes.
Yes.
One scene I love with the Ewoks is the whole bit how they think C-3PO is some sort of like
God.
deity god.
Yeah, I love that bit.
And Luke has him like, hey, tell him if they don't let us go, you'll use your powers.
Right.
And he lifts him. Oh, and I wanted to mention, even 3PO gets an arc in Star Wars. Because,
does he really?
Well, so he does. So in the first Star Wars, I'm not very, Luke finds out, you were with the rebellion, of the fight with the Empire and the Jedi or whatever. And he basically says something along the lines of like, I'm just an interpreter. I'm not very good at telling stories. And then in Return of the Jedi, we move forward and he's telling this story, and it's a great story.
That's great.
Yeah. And it's like, do people pick up on that kind of shit? Maybe not.
They really shouldn't have made Anakin make C-3PO.
It makes no sense.
It breaks the whole, like, Darth Vader is your father. I know this.
Well, the whole idea, they wiped his memory.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the whole idea that like, I'm going to build this interpreter protocol droid to help my mom with chores around the house.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
He could,
he can speak Bocce.
Can he make toast? No. But he speaks 7,000 languages.
Yeah, 6 million. Over 6 million forms of communication.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, geez. When did you last watch this?
Probably about a year ago.
Oh, yeah, well, it's about time. But yeah, no, that the whole 3-act thing is interesting too, because Jabba's palace, like people look at it with fond memories, I would say.
Yeah,
but it does feel very detached.
I love a lot of the Jabba palace stuff.
Yeah, it's neat, but it's like, okay, so the movie, the first quarter of your movie or more is just going to be about getting Han Solo back.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing of, it's just continuing what happened in the last one. Like, you have to resolve that conflict.
Correct. Now, if Harrison would have had his way and Han would have died at the end of Empire, it probably makes Jedi a better movie.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, I think it fundamentally changes the movie to the point we actually don't know what kind of movie.
That's probably true. But Han, if Han has a bad movie, quote unquote, it's Jedi. He doesn't have much to do.
He doesn't.
No. So it's like,
I actually don't think he has an arc in that one. He kind of wakes up and he's just kind of like, I love you, and that's just kind of it.
All right, so I feel like I need to go back to Empire here because you just brought that up and it reminded me of the quote-unquote rapey scene.
Oh, okay.
All right, so just real quick. Okay, so there's a scene where basically, first off, there's two scenes. There's a scene where she falls into his lap and he's like, oh, you're getting excited. And she's like, sitting on you isn't quite enough to get me excited. And he goes, oh, well, we don't have time for anything else. So yeah, great little part. Okay. Now she walks away, and then there's a part where she's like working on something in the back, and he comes in, and he kind of starts like schmoozing her a little bit, and she's like, I do like you sometimes when you're not being such a scoundrel.
Right.
And he does the whole like grabs her hands and is like, oh, scoundrel. I like the sound of that, or whatever. And she's like, stop that. My hands are dirty. And he goes, my hands are dirty too. What are you afraid of? And it's just like, I was watching this and I'm thinking to myself, like, times they are changing.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you could probably still do it. And like, to me personally, I don't see that as like harassment or rape, because I understand that there's like there's a character dichotomy going on here where like they know how they feel about each other.
Right. I think the representation in the film, I think maybe you need to put a little bit more in that to maybe because even at a young age, I was like, she didn't really, and maybe it was because I was young, but I was like, she really doesn't seem to like him all that much.
She likes him.
Right.
It's obvious.
Yeah.
And I guess that's
true.
Great. And this is the Star Wars romance that works compared to what he did later. I'm just thinking like, wow, these two are actually acting like real human beings.
Right.
You know, he is a scoundrel. He's kind of a, you know, whatever. And she's trying to act more reserved or whatever.
Right.
But they have like the traits of real human beings.
Yeah, it's almost like it's almost like your stereotypical rom-com. Like
right.
two people, two opposing forces who are completely different.
Correct. And it works.
It's the only romance in Star Wars that works.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucked up, if
I
you
would
ask
say
me.
that's kind of true.
How many movies are we on now?
They could have
like
set
11?
up something with Rey and Finn, but they fucked that up.
Yep, could have had something. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could have had something. Nothing.
I mean, Rose and Finn, though. You're going to tell me that hot, steamy romance doesn't work?
That just doesn't work.
But yeah, no, back to Jedi. Okay, so that was a little, I just wanted to get that out there because I want, you know, in case there's people that go like, oh, he never brought up the rapey thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Yep.
But anyways, I watched this and realized like, Mark Hamill's kind of a hell of an actor in this.
I actually think he's a good actor overall.
He was good in this. There's the scene where he comes back to Vader, and, you know, I sense the conflict in you, blah, 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 blah.
I know.
And basically, it's so, dude, these movies are so good.
Yeah.
So that scene ends up with basically him saying, like, nope, it's too late for me, fuck off. And, you know, and Luke looks up to him and says, like, then my father is truly dead.
Yep.
And it's just, and then he walks away and Darth Vader kind of just walks over to like he's on like a bridge or something. And he kind of just looks over the side and it's like, why can I feel and see the emotion in Darth Vader's non-moving helmet?
Yep.
It's amazing.
Actually, you just made a really great point for me, which is I get tired in superhero movies where they're like, well, we got to tear the mask off so we can see these people's faces. And I'm like, sometimes just leave the mask on.
You can make it work. It's tough.
It's tough.
Like, I feel like Bane struggles as a villain a bit because he's got such a, you know, my voice is arcing and whatever. But it's like, but you can't, you don't see anything on his face.
That was like Kermit Bane.
Kermit Bane. Yoda Bane. But yeah, no, like for some characters it works. C-3PO, I feel like it works, but that's usually just because he's just looking like a dumbass.
Yeah.
And he has no expression. It's like 3PO's face is of such where there's nothing there, so you can just paint whatever expression you're thinking of in your head on his face.
Well, he does have. He has those big eyes and that small mouth, so he always looks like he's shocked about what's going on.
Exactly. Yeah, it's pretty good. Good character design.
Yeah.
But no, that Darth Vader scene though, that is like what you can do with music and just like building characters.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like we haven't gotten much exposition about Darth Vader, really.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just...
It's very true.
Right. We just know, you know, we can feel the conflict just because of whatever reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The music kicks in. It's visual and you know, audio, just it's perfect.
Yeah.
Everything's put together perfect. And then the last thing I want to say is Ian McDiarmid. Folks.
No.
He is the essence of hamming it up in a role.
Right.
The Emperor Palpatine is the most overacted, ridiculous character.
Yep.
And he's fucking brilliant.
Let the hate flow through you.
The whole scene, just like, it is unavoidable. It's just like every line.
I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I love that shit.
Take your weapon straight
strike me down with all of your hatred.
And it's just like, yeah, just fantastic.
We went full nerd there. That was good. That's good though.
That points to how good the scene is.
Yes.
Because it is such a quotable scene. I mean, when I watch that scene, like, I have to really stop myself from saying the lines.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's this, sister, you have a twin sister.
Yep.
Obi-Wan was wise to hide her from me. It's just
pretty good. That was pretty good.
Yeah, the scene is just, it's amazing. And it's a great, watching the Empire scene and watching the Jedi scene. They both work. They're like perfect fight scenes.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this is what a fight scene should feel like.
Yeah.
You don't need fucking genius choreography and crazy special effects. I mean, the end of the Return of the Jedi fight, he pisses off Luke and Luke just comes out swinging like a motherfucker.
That was, oh God, I love that scene.
Oh, it's great. And then he chops off Darth Vader's hand.
Yep.
It's perfect storytelling. He sees the hand. He understands like, I can't become this.
Yep.
He looks at his own hand and he turns around and says, fuck you. And the conflict ends with him throwing his weapon away.
Yeah.
And saying, I'm not going to fight.
Yeah. Which is a great way. I mean, you think about modern blockbusters, how many times did the hero win through passive means?
Not often.
Yeah.
Not often, and it's amazing. And I do want to give a shout out to George Lucas, because this one I watched the Blu-ray edition of. I don't know if you've seen this. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, those of you who have seen Return of the Jedi know how it ends. The Emperor is electrocuting Luke, and Darth Vader's looking back and forth. And remember, we were talking about just a second ago about how you can see the emotion in Darth Vader. Just, what he's thinking.
Yep.
They have added to the Blu-rays him saying no as he's watching, and then when he picks up the Emperor to throw him over the, I never know what to call that thing, the chasm, throw him down the chasm.
They just happen to have a nice little pit here.
Yeah, of course, right. Yeah, gotta have a pit. So he picks up the Emperor, and as he's carrying him, he's yelling no, like it sounds like it's taken directly out of the end.
Yes,
right.
Yes, right from episode 3. Yeah.
God. That breaks the scene.
Yeah, it does.
It's the most egregious of all of the changes in my point of view. I don't even mind the Hayden Christensen taking the old dude's place at the end when he sees the Force ghosts. Because, to me, there's logic in that. Like, okay, Lucas was thinking Anakin Skywalker ceased to exist at this point.
Right.
So if he were to be Anakin again, he would go back to, this is what he would be. This is just fucking with your audience.
Yeah.
In a way that, to me, is unforgivably ridiculous.
I do think that the Han shot first thing, it might be, I think you could make a debate that that's just as bad.
That's the other famous one.
Because that redefines the character.
It does. You're right.
And I hate that.
You're right.
That's the one that really pisses me off. That one, the one that you're talking about, the no, like that annoys the fuck out of me, but
there's no, okay, the Han one, here's why I'm going to say, yeah, sure, you're right. It breaks the movie as far as a character more. But at least, you can see Lucas saying, okay, I want to make these more for kids. I kind of feel like I regret having Han be like somebody who would just murder someone in cold blood. I have logical thinking here. This is just, I can make him say no.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is watching this that doesn't know what he's thinking?
It's the same logic, though. It's the matter of, I'm trying to make this for kids. Kids might not understand what's going on. I'll put in some no's so they get it.
Holy shit.
I mean, it's just a level of not trusting your audience that is really indicative of modern George Lucas.
But yeah, so in summary of Return of the Jedi, I feel like it has some of the strongest scenes, but there's a feeling of just something's wrong with the movie.
Right.
As far as pacing is concerned, that sort of thing.
I think,
but overall, it's still a great movie.
I think the Ewoks beating the Empire, even though it does draw a nice parallel between Vietnam and these sci-fi films, I think it breaks the Empire a little bit. It makes them look like bumbling buffoons, and I think that's one of the things that hurts the film.
Yeah, but I see what he was going for.
I totally
get it. The little guy can win.
The little guy can win, and it, like I said, it is very much sort of like the insurgents or guerrilla war tactics. Like I get what he's going for.
Yep.
Still kind of makes them look really bad.
Yeah, it does. Well, because they're getting killed by like stones.
Yeah.
And
spears.
Yeah, they have guns. They could just shoot these little fucking things. It doesn't really make much sense.
No. Well, why don't you just take like one of your Star Destroyers and just land it on the fucking trees?
That's true. Dude, they have walkers.
Yeah.
They're like, what good are these? These were supposed to be like these things where you see them, you're nervous because they're fucking big, badass things. But walkers, no, Ewoks can just...
Walkers are some of the dumbest ideas, though. Like, it's why I look at like the Megazord and shit. I'm like, this is why we don't do giant robots, because you tip them over, they're done.
Yeah, but they look really cool.
They look really cool. They look really
especially
cool.
The Battle of Hoth is great.
Yes.
We didn't even talk about that in my Empire bit. But yeah, no, these are my favorite movies of all time.
Right.
These are why I have passion for movies, I would say. And it's very easy to see why, because of scenes that are just...
They capture your imagination when you're a kid.
Well, and you watch them and it's like, there's a lot to be learned from this, and it's important shit. It's got space paint on it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they're the same lessons that people learn in a church, I would say.
Right, yeah.
And they're done in, to me, a more interesting, intriguing way.
Right.
That speaks to me, you know, like more than, you know, a guy in a church talking does.
Right. So, I don't know. My first exposure to the original trilogy was on VHS, so I actually got to see the originals, not the special edition. And I remember watching them when I was like 12 years old. And my dad, you know, before I even sat down and watched them, he was like, "So I want to explain this to you." This was like the biggest thing when I was growing up. And he explains all the, the cultural phenomenon it was, the redefining of what special effects could be, you know, the creation of the modern blockbuster, which I think you could argue actually Jaws did first.
Sure.
But I fell in love with those movies at the age of like 12.
Yeah, they're just fantastic.
Yeah.
They really are. They're magical movies.
And they stand up to repeat viewings more so than I'd say any other Star Wars movie.
Yeah, you can watch them whenever. You can pop one in right. I just watched them. I could watch them again.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
hearing you talk about them makes me want to watch them.
Well, right. And you just look like every archetype in those movies is like such a good example of how you do it.
Yep.
I mean, your hero character has a massive arc. By the end of Return of the Jedi, he's like a completely different person.
Absolutely.
You know, and your villain has an arc.
Yep.
That's fantastic. I mean, I look at that now, having my issues with drug addiction and alcoholism in my life, and to me, that's like, you know, the whole idea that no matter how bad you've been, there's always a way back to the light.
Right.
Is fantastic. The fact that the movie's climax is about saving the bad guy.
Yeah.
Return of the Jedi, the title. The Return of the Jedi, it's about, you know, the title is about Vader.
Well, it's nice that it has multiple meanings.
Right.
That's good craftsmanship. You talk about the fact of like saving a villain and making them redeemable and you know, finding a way back to the light. I can't think of a modern example other than, say, Loki, that they've actually done that with.
And Loki's a little bit like...
He's just one of those people who you wonder if he wants to, whereas Darth Vader had sort of a clear choice at the end.
Yep. And he did it for the love of his son.
Right.
It's just fucking great.
Yes. Yeah.
It's just so good. But yeah, that's Star Wars.
Yeah. I mean,
got 3 shits, and maybe someday we'll discuss the new ones. But yeah, Star Wars week.
Yeah. Super long episode.
Have fun editing.
Yeah. Well, that's another episode of Bored and Annoyed. Where can they find us, Jackson?
They can find us at www.boredandannoyed.com. Scroll to the bottom. There's a little social media section, and then just click from there. I'm not going to list them all. So
yeah. Well, Twitter, Bored Annoyed, Twitter handle.
Yeah. Look, Alex is learning them now.
You want to tweet or twaddle or Twitter?
Yeah, tweet us or retweet us. Do whatever.
Or you can twiddle us, whichever.
I don't know. Depends on who you are. I may or may not let you twiddle us, whatever that means.
But yeah, I have been home at the movies.
And I've been Jackson.
Laurel.